Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk. I'm your host, Coach Kevin Bull Jones, and today I have my friend and the man in charge of how everything runs in the Atlanta Public School System back again to talk about the state of Atlanta Public School football after a couple of weeks of football. Also talk about some of his great days of coaching, as well as he is a Gator fan. Sports fan. So we're gonna talk some real football. So I'm gonna get a chance to pull that football talk out of him. You know, he's been in the athletic director role for a while now, but we're gonna roll the sleeves up and talk some good old fashioned SEC football. Welcome to the show. So if you like the show, please come in and join. Well, Coach Jewell, Jasper, good to see you again.
Oh man, it's good to be seen. Good to see you as well, Kevin. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Coming off our first chance to finally play a football game.
Congratulations on that W too.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. It felt good, and it felt good to be able to watch the kids finally play. And listen, this is therapy for me, as well as I wanted to talk to you about the state of it because, you know, being at the controls of the football at Atlanta Public Schools right now and monitoring everything going on, watching, not just the kids, but, us coaches as well, because some of us, that was our first chance to coach last weekend. And it was tremendous. It was a big relief because I got tired of watching everybody else play. But,
Right.
Rules are rules, and we respectfully, monitor the safety of the kids. But it was a great relief. So now that we've gone into 2 weeks with this, and you have been at the helm of dealing with the classics that APS schools have been in, how do you feel right now?
Well, first and foremost, I feel relieved, number one, because we're going into week 4 actually of our high school football events. We've of course we started fall sports back in second week of August.
Right.
We're going into week 4, and right now it's going off, thankfully, fingers crossed, without a hitch. We haven't had any incidences, no major injuries. We haven't lost anyone due to COVID-19 or any injuries at all. All coaches are healthy, kids are healthy, and I feel good about it. I can tell that there's, some schools started off a little slow, and I would expect that because here again, as we talked before, Kevin, we didn't have spring football. We didn't have 7-on-7 this summer. We had to scale back on conditioning as well as how we move forward with getting the kids ready to play football. So for that, I'm extremely pleased with how teams have come together across the board. The win-loss record may not look that way, but as you know, beginning of the season, you'll have a lot of non-region games. So we don't start the meat of our schedule until this week and next week. So I'm really excited about where we're headed the next couple of weeks.
Well, fittingly enough, yeah, I agree with you. It's just like I said earlier, it was fun to finally. That was tough on Friday night, and it's adjustments for everybody. But for to watch for 2 weeks and have to sit down on Friday night. My wife looking at me like, "Are you gonna be okay?" I said, "I got no choice." I'm waiting on the thumbs up from you so we can rock and roll, and it felt good. And I'm amazed that the tackling is not that bad right now. It's kind of amazing that the kids are so resilient. And I'm sure, like you said, going into week 4, you have been able to, from the top, see how everything looked. So my question to you is, you still got those coaching juices and flowing still in you. It's still in you. So how do you feel when this time of the year comes to play? Do you miss being on the sidelines at all?
Well, I tell you what I miss most. I miss the camaraderie that I had with my staffs. I really miss that camaraderie. I also miss the relationships that I built with other head coaches, because as you know, being a football coach, period, whether you're a head coach or assistant coach, it's a fraternity within itself. There's a lot, the way I was brought up when I broke into the coaching ranks back in 1995, the way I was brought up is that what you do is you have so much love, admiration, and respect for your opponent. You may go head to head on Friday nights or Saturday nights, But that Sunday through Thursday, there's so much camaraderie and there's so much mutual respect that you have for that individual. Because you have to think about it. To be a high school football coach is more than just pay. It's a love for the game, and it's a love for helping kids, helping younger coaches, and being mentored by older coaches. I was mentored by some of the best, some of the very best. I've had great relationships with William Buck Godfrey. I've had a great relationship with Alan Chadwick at Marist, as well as Paul Standard at St. Pius, Ray Bonner, who was formerly at Cedar Grove, Ron Gartrell. The list goes on. Old Jackie Green from Mount Zion in Clayton County. Right. So the list goes on. And for me to have been blessed to be around such good people, such high character individuals, when we crank this thing up, and you used to say when you smell grass, but now you're smelling turf. But when you get close to that time and you see those refs come through those gates and those kids, you can't do anything but get excited. It's a wonderful time of the year. It really is. And I tell you a quick story. My first year here was 2010. I just resigned as the head football coach and athletic director of Miller Grove High School. And I thought I could handle not being on the sidelines. After being on the sidelines for 16 years, my very first preseason game was Grady, who was coached by Ronnie Millen, against North Clayton, who at the time was coached by Rodney Hackney. Okay. And of course, Coach Hackney and I, we've had a long-standing relationship that dates years back. I actually, at the kickoff of that game, I went down in the corner of the goal post and I cried. I shedded a tear. That's how much I missed being in that atmosphere, being around it. But I was so blessed and fortunate to get the job that I have, that I'm always around sports. So, it was a win-win situation for me.
Well, you still get to, bond, and when we have recruitment seminars, Minority Coach Association, as long as Ahmad Tinker, fascinating, one of the largest recruiting seminars that happened in late fall, and as well as the coaching clinics in the spring. We still get to see your face, and you and I have seen each other at up in Nashville at the American Football Coaches Convention, and you're right. You still get a chance to still dabble in it a little bit, and with those coaches that you mentioned, explains why it's a great feeling to watch how you can attend to the needs of the kids and the communities, but also know what we as coaches need. Which sometimes if you've been in the fire, you kind of know how to turn the gas down and get what you need to throw it in the life preservers or something, or turn the gas down, because you've been in it.
Absolutely.
And that's amazing part of it, the dynamics of you being from coaching to where you are today. So listen, tell me one of your, if you can remember, I'm gonna put you on the spot, one of your best, the best game that you won, the signature game you won, and the toughest loss you had when your team played their butts off, and it just the ball didn't bounce that way that night. Give me one and the other, if you can remember. Okay.
First and foremost, I would say the best signature win I had was in October of 2004, when I was the head football coach at Stone Mountain High School.
Okay.
And we were in the running for a playoff bid, but at the time we had to play the almighty Southwest DeKalb High School. And it just so happened to be their homecoming, and they were flat out loaded. There was talk all week on the radio. That's when Rashawn Ali was on the radio as well. And they talked about how they would kill us and what they're going to do for what they're going to do for dance and post game and how many dances they're going to have. We dressed out 27 boys that night, 27 boys. Southwest DeKalb probably dressed out in excess of about 90, 95 kids. When we walked into the stadium, the teams that were playing before us, they laughed at us. They chuckled at us and they said, "You guys don't stand a chance." We ended up winning that game 30-27 in triple overtime. And wow. It was one hell of a ball game. The atmosphere at Hoffa Stadium was unbelievable. It had to be at least 10,000 fans there that night. That was probably one of my most fulfilling wins in my coaching history. One of the losses it was two losses, actually. They were both in the same year. We finished 4-6 that year, and we lost 5 games by a grand total of 11 points. We lost.
Been there.
Yeah, it's tough. We lost to Westlake High School 20-17. And Westlake was absolutely loaded that year. And it came down to the last play of the game, and we lost on the last play of the game. Also, the same year we lost to Mays. That was Mays' only 10-0 undefeated regular season game under Coach Darryl Caldwell. We lost to them. As a matter of fact, Calvin Booker was a starting quarterback who ended up going to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
We lost to him 13-12, and the game ended with the ball being intercepted. They intercepted our pass on the 1-yard line. So you're talking about games, they were one for the books. But, I learned a lot from those games as a coach and as a mentor to my kids. You have to learn how to win, and you have to learn how to lose with class. You have to know and understand how to deal with adversity, because adversity introduces a man to himself. That's what adversity does. And, our goal is not only to win ball games, but to instill character in our kids so they can be lifelong successful members of this society, whether it's being a husband, whether it's being a father, whether it's being a good sibling, whatever the case may be. That's the end game for me when it comes to coaching our kids.
Oh, that's very profound. I have this saying, and I don't know where I got the saying from, so I don't credit me with it, but I say I either win or I learn. And there's just a lot of learning. I know, I am a, Bama fan. I've heard Coach Saban say something similar to that. You learn so much from a loss. But for me, my slogan I use, and I give to my players and some of my former coaches, just, you either win or you learn, because sometimes you can win and not learn a thing. And you have a false sense of security that you're being successful, maybe because the other team you're playing is not as physically attributed as you are, but you can dominate people. But that whole bit of being with those kids, and it's funny you mentioned those 2 games, and listeners, he's talking about Rayshawn Ali, who's a very successful on-air personality and television celebrity / personality here in the Metro Atlanta area, although she does some national stuff. But her father is the head coach of Southwest DeKalb High School here in Metro Atlanta, DeKalb County, the legendary William Buck Godfrey. So it's funny that you mentioned that, because I remember those games when she was working on air radio, and she didn't hold back, meaning you're supposed to be, in the middle, but her daddy was the head coach. So I mean, and yes, I remember all the hooping and hollering, and then I remember how I got quiet when you won the game. and but it goes back to what you say, is the bond of competing, the bond of we're gonna go at each other's necks on Friday night, but we cool with each other.
Absolutely.
And the coaches that you mentioned are all of them are legendary men and coaches in the same respect, and it's amazing how you mentioned that, because you don't forget that.
No.
And it rolled off your mouth and your tongue just like that you remember those guys that touched your life in the ways that helped you be who you are. Name a player that kid might not have gotten a Division I scholarship, okay? But from when you had him to where he finished, can you name maybe 1 or 2 that really touched your life because you watched them grow from being boys to men, and they can come back to you now and talk to you? Because I know as long as you coach, you got some kids that you will still Coach Jewell to them. It's not going to change. And
Absolutely.
They can't wait to hear your voice, and you still have a bond with them. Name probably 2 kids that stand out to you from those days.
All right, I named kids from Stone Mountain as well as Miller Grove, which were my 2 coaching stops. First one is Cordelius Parks. He was for us, he was a defensive back at Stone Mountain. He was a hard worker, starter on the varsity level since he was a 10th grade year. Very smart student athlete. He ended up getting a full ride to Northeastern University, which is up in Massachusetts. He ended up playing a illustrious 6-year career in the CFL. Now he's out. He's probably one of the most diverse and one of the best trainers of athletes that's here around in the Atlanta area. Another one was a kid by the name of Dobson Collins. And the reason why I named those two kids in that triple overtime win against Southwest DeKalb, they were responsible for 3 of our 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
They're those type of kids. He went to Gardner-Webb University, and he ended up now he's a high school head football coach in Hickory, North Carolina. As a matter of fact, made it to the state championship game last year, and he called me and we talked, and it was scintillating for me. It really was. And last but certainly not least, one that did have an opportunity to make it to the NFL, but I have to mention him because he's like a son to me, is Stephen Hill, receiver from Miller Grove that went on to Georgia Tech, played professionally for the New York Jets as well as the Carolina Panthers. You wouldn't believe it, but guess what he's doing now? He's coaching wide receivers at Mays High School.
Oh.
So we went and pulled him out of retirement, and we got him on the field. And he said, "Coach, I don't see how y'all dealt with us." I said, "Welcome to our world, my friend."
See, see, that's amazing. Isn't that a joy when they come back and say, "Coach"? They just look at you and they go, "Coach, I don't know how you did this."
Amen. But I'm gonna tell you something. When I saw him on that field, because I had to go up to Mays to do a TV interview, it brought me to tears because I said, wow, the things that we imparted, that we took the time to impart into this young man, now he's moving on and doing it with the next generation. That this melts my heart. It really does.
And see, when it's all said and done, the connection, you're that first connection. Coaches are that first connection past the people in their immediate household.
Yes.
We're the next connection to the next phase of life as role models, as men, and I don't take it lightly in all the years that I've been around, and certainly listening to what you're talking about right now. I remember that kid playing for you at Miller Grove, making those big catches, and then I watched him at Georgia Tech, and the pressure on him to be the next big time receiver at Georgia Tech was astronomical because Megatron had left and he was in the league.
And then Bebe Thomas came right behind him.
Yeah, so he had a lot of pressure, but he persevered, and that's amazing that you mentioned that because some of my kids in the league now, when we talk, we did a lot of talking during this pandemic stuff, and they just said, "Coach, man, I just want to thank you. I'm just sitting here thinking about some of the stuff you used to talk about." And I said, "Listen, we can't take anything lightly, and I appreciate everything you've done, and I appreciate being here in this county with you to watch you maneuver through things and make things make the tick in the top work." That's what I call it. My kids get a big kick out of that one. I said, "No, not the video part. It was just the movement because Coach Jones ain't moving like that. Body don't move that way." All right, so you are a Gator fan.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
It's going down. It's going down this weekend. You a Gator fan, and I want you to give me your preview of what those Gators are going to look like this year, and then I'm going to let you know what I thought about them. But I want to hear what you thought about it.
Well, I had the opportunity. It's funny you say that. How we have our annual clinics, spring clinics, with the Minority Coaches Association.
Right.
And this particular year, for whatever reason, I was put on duty to go pick the head coaches up from the airport and bring him in to speak. Well, guess who gets into my car? First of all, I have his personal cell in my phone. I'm so excited about that. Dan Mullen gets into my car. Enter Dan Mullen, first year, University of Florida. And we chopped it up on the way back to the airport. We talked when I brought him back to the airport. I was able to meet his personal pilot when he flew down on his private jet. And even to this day, we still text every now and then. That's the relationship that I have and how good I feel. But I think he's done a tremendous job going into year 3. If you think about it, the Florida Gator standard had been raised so high after Galen Hall left and Steve Spurrier came along, and then we had a slight letdown, and then enter Urban Meyer again. So expectations are always going to be high in Gainesville. We did lose a plethora of wide receivers in Freddie Swain, who's playing with the Seattle Seahawks. We also have, God, I can't think of his name right now, but the other receiver, he's starting with Not the San Diego with the Rams.
Henderson, not Henderson.
Not Henderson. I'll think of his name in a minute. But anyway, his dad played in the league. I can't think of his name. It'll come up in a minute. But however, we're rebuilding. We have, in my opinion, the best tight end in all of college football in Kyle Pitts. He's a monster. He was all SEC after his sophomore season. Travion Grimes decided to come back for his senior year. And we have Kadarius Toney, who's always been a playmaker. He just really couldn't find his niche. But I think he's found his niche at wide receiver now. Kyle Trask is in now, and he seems to be that guy. He beat out slightly Emory Jones again, who's, of course, a Georgia native from Heard County for the starting quarterback position. And we also have a true freshman quarterback that's an early enrollee from Florida, state of Florida, that's lighting the place up. Our offensive line has returned, and they were very young last year. We had 5 new starters up front. So we took our lumps, and we've been able, through recruiting, to develop some depth at the offensive line position. And as you know, University of Florida has quietly on defense, but turned into DBU with the amount of defensive backs that have come through and been solid. So we're returning Elam at one corner, and we have number 3 who's coming back. He's gonna be a 4-year senior. We have Donovan Steiner coming back in the safety position, and we have some real good talented linebackers and defensive line. So I'm going to be honest with you. I was a bit nervous when Jamie came in from from Wake Forest and decided to play for University of Georgia, because he's such a dual threat guy. He's smart, he's gifted, he's talented. He's a graduate of Wake Forest, so that should tell you something. Jamie Newman has some sense behind him.
That's right.
Since he opted out, I feel a whole lot better. I'm just going to be honest with you. But I think if this is our year to make that push and make that run at the SEC, then this be the year that'll get it done in Muller's 3rd year. I feel real good about my Florida Gators, and I will be watching them in front and center Saturday at 12 as they take on the Lane Kiffin Ole Miss Rebels down in Oxford, Mississippi. Be a good atmosphere. I think he'll have the Rebels fired up, ready to play. And they'll make it a game, first quarter and a half, and then I expect that Gator pride to just take on off and lead us on to victory.
Oh wow! Well, I tell you what.
You see what's I'm gonna move it. You see what's on the back of my wall back here.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
Okay.
And you and I going. I am a Nick Saban fan, so I believe that there is a small possibility of Florida making it to downtown Atlanta for that big SEC championship game. But I think that, and I'm not going to bring my hat out yet. I'll just leave that till in a couple of months. We'll revisit this and we'll get back on the show. But here's the thing about Florida football, and this is what I thought of from day one. Number one, because of the pandemic and not having a chance to work, with the spring, whoever had the returning start at quarterback was going to be in the driver's seat of success for this fall, because it's just astronomical to ask kids there's just so much Zoom you can do.
Exactly. You have to have that on field teaching.
Right. So with that being said, I didn't know who Kyle Trask was prior to this past season.
Right.
But in Dan Mullen's decision making, Trask took over. And he threw for just under 3,000 yards. He had 29 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. I think that is impressive. But here's the thing, and you just mentioned, they got 6 starters coming back on offense, and he's one of them, plus some of the offensive linemen. The Ethan White kid, the tackle that the guard, that they were counting on, who lost all that weight. He did a heck of a job losing weight.
Yes.
And fought his way into the starting rotation, and he's out right now. But I don't think that's going to hurt you all, those Gators this weekend. Tretz, the tight end. Kyle Pitts, the tight end.
Yes.
Like you said, is phenomenal.
He is
impressive target, and he can run, and he really can play in the slot. But the thing about and hats off to Coach Hevesy, who's been there as the O-line
As the
coach.
O-line coach,
You
John
probably
Hevesy.
remember him back when he was at a lot of other places in the SEC.
Right.
Very lively guy. I'll put it like that.
Yes, he is.
But I think the thing that Florida doesn't get a lot of credit for is their defense. And they were number 7 in the nation last year in defense.
Absolutely.
Georgia was number 1, of course.
Yes.
Bama, we were in the top 3, but Florida had a great defense, and they didn't get enough. I didn't understand why they didn't get the shine for that. They should have gotten a little more love for that. They returned 5 starters. Brenton Cox, former Georgia player that transferred
for us. Yes,
great. And now he's at Florida, and he's probably going to turn up this year. Here's what I see for Florida. They got some tough games.
We do.
Do you think they will make it to the SEC championship game? That's my question. I'm gonna put your coaching hat on. Tell me how are they gonna make it and why?
First and foremost, I remember that receiver is Van Jefferson. His dad was Sean Jefferson that played in the league. Secondly, I hate to say this, as much as I disgust and hate University of Georgia, all roads lead through Jacksonville at the cocktail party. Don't know if it'll be a cocktail party this year because of COVID-19, but I'm going to be honest with you. If the winner of that game, in my opinion, would be the East representative in the SEC championship game. And I'm going to be honest with you. I feel good about our chances this year.
Now that the Newman kid is no longer at quarterback, I think that's what you're really saying.
Well, number one, they starting 5 new offensive linemen as well. I mean, they lost an entire offensive line. They lost great backs, even though they have some good backs that are coming behind them. But to break in a new quarterback with a new offensive line as well as a new starting tailback, that's a tall task in the SEC. That is a tall task. Now, don't get me wrong. Georgia's defense is as good as advertised.
Yes,
they are good. They do a great job. Dan Lanning does a phenomenal job. He plays anywhere between 25 and 26 kids. So the amount of depth that they have is unmatched. But how long will the defense be able to sustain that if the offense doesn't put up points in the SEC? Well
said. Speaking like a coach / commentator. Now, I hear something there. Now, here's what I think is going to happen, because there's an elephant in the room, and I'm talking about on the east side, SEC east side. I'm not talking about the west side with Bama. But when I say there's an elephant in the room on the east side, meaning there is an opponent on the east side of the standings that can wreck all of this. And I do believe you're correct in regards to that Georgia-Florida game down in Jacksonville. And here's the beast. The name of the beast is the Tennessee Vols. And the Tennessee Vols they return 9 starters on defense, and they return 6 on offense. And here's what I think is going to happen. Florida has something advantage that you all Gators have. You all have back-to-back home games with LSU, Missouri, Arkansas, and I consider UGA Jacksonville. I consider Jacksonville, Florida home game. I just do. I mean, that's the way I see it from a coaching standpoint. It's in Florida. Okay, so that strand of games is in your favor. However, on the 5th of December, you got to go up to Knoxville. Mind you, we go up to Knoxville with them. Who knows what'll happen at the end of the season? Injury, attrition. Hey, Chris Rump, who coaches linebackers for Tennessee, is one of my best friends on the collegiate level. So me and him go at it, tit for tat, all the time, 100%. I think by the time that game comes around, because I think we have a little bit more depth than Jeremy Pruitt we do currently, I think that's going to play a factor into who wins that ball game. I really do. Okay, so here's what I think is going to happen. Tennessee is going to beat Florida. Florida is going to beat Georgia. Georgia is going to beat Tennessee. There's going to be a 3-headed monster on the east side of the SEC standings.
Boy,
And I don't know
you
how
feel
it's
very
going to
high
work
about the
out.
University of Tennessee. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, yes, they
You see
have come in.
do you see what we've done to them the past 2 seasons?
Yes, you've done a lot to them, but they have turned it back into and Metro Atlanta, University of Tennessee.
Yeah.
They're getting all the top. They've gotten some of the top kids. Derek Ansley, Coach Pruitt, Rump when he was there. I mean, yes, they've done a good job. South Carolina is probably going to be when all of that head-to-head stuff and things are tied up. Maybe South Carolina is going to make a difference. Coach Muschamp is starting to grab some kids in the Metro Atlanta area as well. So here's the thing. But I think the gunslinger on this side is Kyle Trask. I really do.
Absolutely.
I think that Florida has an advantage. Nothing against Georgia. Georgia's got the best running backs probably in the nation. That's still shout out to what they do up there. Coach Dale McGee, running back coach at UGA.
Phenomenal job. Great recruit.
Great guy, great man.
And even a better man than
yes, sir.
any of the above. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I just think that it's going to come down to somewhere in there. But I think you might be right. I think something's, things shake off that late. You never know. But that's why it's going to be so exciting to see what happens this weekend. Unfortunately, I got to get ready for a game Saturday night. We play Grady High School, so I won't be able to enjoy the game as much as you are at 12 noon because we'll have them kids coming in soon. But
absolutely,
I'm quite sure you're going to be on top of this one, and I think Florida is going to create some excitement and drive Kiffin crazy, Coach Kiffin and Ole Miss crazy this weekend because I think Trash is going to throw the ball around. I really do.
I think he is too.
So listen, I think that you and I have to come back again and we have to talk about this Gator because when Jacksonville gets ready to that whole scenario comes up. Okay, and I want you to make sure you got your flag there in the back, but make sure you got the big one late because I know you do.
I do.
And
I do.
And your cup. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you for letting us know, the viewers know what the state of the address in Lambert Public Schools. And I have no complaints. I'm enjoying it, and I think that you're doing a great job of leading us where we need to go. And we're gonna keep working our butts off on this end.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on here.
Well, we're glad to have you. And once again, Jasper, we're gonna come back, and we're gonna when we get closer to Jacksonville. Sports fans, we're going to get together and have a round table on this one. So listen, if you like the show, thank you so much for joining us today. We are 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk.